I am Xiao Kayan, a girl from Jinan. With my vision for the future and my persistence in love, I boarded a flight to Taipei. In the early spring of 2018, she bid farewell to her snowy hometown and welcomed an island with spring all year round. However, when she first arrived in Taiwan, she was both excited and nervous about the unfamiliar environment and culture. Next, I will use the first person to tell the story of this girl's experience in Taiwan. I still remember when I first arrived in Taiwan, I felt fresh about everything, just like a countryman entering the city. It was early 2018, and there were still snowflakes in Jinan, but it was warm enough in Taipei to wear short sleeves. When I got off the plane, the sultry air hit me in the face. I, a northerner, just couldn't stand it. Now I think it's really funny. My husband is from Taiwan, works in a technology company. It's interesting to talk about this marriage. We met online. He was on a business trip to Jinan and accidentally saw my circle of friends. I remember the first day I arrived in Taipei, my husband took me to live in a community in Wench and District. The building was not tall, only 7 floors, but the environment was very good. There was a small garden downstairs, planted with various tropical plants that I couldn't name, lush and green. What surprised me most was that there was a special cleaning lady at the door who cleaned the floor every day, and there was not even a cigarette but to be seen. This is really rare in Jinan. It was good to see the cleaning lady in our community once a week. When I first came here, I was unfamiliar with everything, and even going to the supermarket to buy soy sauce could make me laugh. I remember one time I wanted to buy dark soy sauce, but I couldn't find it after wandering around the seasoning area for a long time. Finally, I asked the shopping guide, and they said it was called black soy sauce here, and then I suddenly realized it. I encountered this kind of trivial things a lot, and sometimes I felt embarrassed, but Taiwanese people are very patient and will never laugh at you for such things. In the first few months, my husband went to work every day, and I stayed at home. To be honest, those days were really tormenting. I had nothing to do during the day, so I just stood on the balcony and watched people coming and going downstairs. Sometimes I was so anxious staying at home alone that I went downstairs to the family mart to buy something. I still remember that one time I was standing in front of the beverage cabinet in a daze. The clerk saw that I seemed unhappy and took the initiative to talk to me. "Is your sister from the mainland?" I was stunned and said yes. He said he could hear my accent and then enthusiastically introduced me to the special drinks of Taiwan. At that time, I missed home the most when I was eating. Although there are many delicacies in Taipei, I just couldn't find the taste of Jinan. I wanted to eat scallion pancakes, but there was none here. I wanted to drink sweet foam, but people didn't know what it was. Once I was so greedy that I tried to make Jinan's fried noodles by myself, but the noodles were to soften the sauce was not right. I cried while eating. Seeing me like this, my husband took me to Yongking Street to find a Shandong noodle restaurant without saying a word. Although the taste is still different from that in my hometown, I was particularly touched by the warm heart. Slowly, I began to adapt to the pace of life here. Unlike when I was in Jinan, the pace of life here is slow and there is no rush. In the morning, I went to the vegetable market and saw the ants picking vegetables and bargaining with laughter. When I passed by the breakfast shop, I smelled the fragrance of soy milk and egg pancakes and listened to the soft Taiwanese accent of passers-by. I felt a lot more relaxed. The biggest change was when I was looking for a job. It was very different to submit a resume in Taiwan. The companies here will reply to you very seriously. Once I was 10 minutes late for an interview, and I thought I was definitely out of luck. The HR was not angry, but poured me a cup of warm water and said that there was a traffic jam on the road. It was okay, take your time. This kind of understanding and tolerance is simply unimaginable in the mainland workplace. I remember that my first job was in a small design company in Taipei. The company atmosphere was very good, and my colleagues took good care of me as a mainlander. Once I caught a cold, my colleague asked for leave for me without saying anything, and even went out to buy herbal honey, telling me that this annealing method is the best. During lunch break, everyone would go to the buffet restaurant downstairs to get food, and after dinner they would go to buy hand-cranked cup. This leisurely working atmosphere made me realize for the first time that work could be so easy. After living here for more than half a year, I gradually discovered the unique charm of Taipei. It is not as big as Jinan, but it is very exquisite everywhere. For example, there are electronic screens on the bus stops which are accurate to the minute. How long will it take for the garbage truck to come every day to collect garbage? And it also plays music. Listening to the cherry blossom music, everyone carries the garbage downstairs. The small shops on the roadside will clean the door every morning and put a few pots of flowers. What touched me most was friendship between people here. I remember once it rained heavily and I forgot to bring an umbrella. I was worried at the door of a convenience store. Annette next to me lent me an umbrella without saying a word and said that her home was nearby and I could walk back by myself in a while. I couldn't refuse, so I had to accept and agree to return it to her the next day. As a result, the next morning, the aunt was waiting at the agreed place and brought me a homemade rice ball. She said that I was from another place because of my accent and was afraid that I would miss home. There are really many heartwarming stories like this in Taipei. Once I was buying vegetables at the vegetable market and accidentally knocked off several garlic sprouts on the stall. I was so panicked that I quickly apologized and said I would pay for it. The vegetable seller smiled and said, "It's okay. It's the same here. No need to pay for it." And she picked a few more fresh ones for me and put them in the bag. This kind of human touch is rare in the vegetable markets in mainland China. If you knock something off there, you not only have to pay for it, but sometimes you have to be scolded. The most interesting thing in life may be taking the bus. In China, the buses are basically quiet, and everyone is busy playing with their phones. But on Taipei buses, you can often hear heartwarming conversations. Once I saw an old man get on the bus, and the young man immediately gave up his seat. The old man thanked him repeatedly and chatted with the young man, asking him if he was an office worker and whether his work was hard. The young man also responded enthusiastically, and the atmosphere in the whole car was particularly warm. The most unforgettable thing was last year's Chinese New Year. Because of the epidemic, I couldn't go back to Jinan, so my husband took me to his house for the New Year. To be honest, I was very nervous at first, afraid that my mother-in-law would not like me as a mainland daughter-in-law. Unexpectedly, my mother-in-law was very kind. Knowing that I love pasta, she specially learned how to make several pasta. On New Year's Eve, when making dumplings, my mother-in-law said that the dumplings I made were the most beautiful, shaped like ingots, and asked for a good start. During the New Year's Day, I can especially feel the human touch of Taiwanese people. Early in the morning on New Year's Day, the neighbors next door came to visit us and give us rice cakes. They knew that I was from Jinan, and they specifically asked me what the New Year customs in Jinan were like. When I mentioned that people in Jinan love to eat dumplings, they said that I would teach them how to make dumplings next time. This pure enthusiasm makes me feel like I'm not an outsider at all. During my time in Taipei, I also experienced many difficulties. The biggest setback may be the language problem. Although we all speak Chinese, many of the word usage habits are different. When I first came here, I couldn't even understand the most basic words such as and. Once when I was in a taxi, the driver told me that there would be a traffic jam ahead, but I didn't react. He said that there would be a traffic jam. I often make jokes at work because of these differences. Once in a meeting, the supervisor said that he would help the customer check the card. I was confused, and later I realized that it meant to check. Fortunately, my colleagues are very tolerant. Every time I don't understand, they patiently explain, and slowly I also learned to use Taiwanese expressions. Now when I hear others say, and I can naturally connect with the conversation. Recently, my life in Taipei has changed. I found a better job in a design company in Jiaye district. The salary is much higher than before, and more importantly, I can be exposed to many fresh design concepts. The design style in Taiwan is very different from that in mainland China, with more attention to details and humanistic care. For example, when making a poster, the clients here will emphasize that the feelings of different groups should be taken into account and there should be no discriminatory content. On weekends, I like to visit cultural and creative parks and look at the works of Taiwanese designers. Their creativity always inspires me a lot. Sometimes I also attend some design lectures and meet many like-minded friends. Among these friends, there are local Taiwanese and some from other places like me. When we communicate together, we can't feel the regional differences at all. We just share our love for design. Now think about it. I have changed a lot in the past few years since I came to Taiwan. Not only has my lifestyle changed, but my personality has become much more cheerful. I used to work under great pressure in Jinan, and I was always on edge, afraid of making mistakes. After coming to Taipei, I slowly learned to relax and enjoy every moment of life. The most obvious change is the attitude towards strangers. In the past, when I was in mainland China, I would always hesitate to step forward when I saw someone in need of help, fearing that I would get into trouble. Now I will naturally help others. For example, when I see foreign tourists looking at maps at the MRT station, I will take the initiative to step forward and ask if they need help with directions. This change is incredible even to me. Yesterday, I received a particularly heartwarming gift from the owner of the bakery downstairs from my company. Because I often go to him to buy bread, he knows that I am from Jinan, so he specially made a Jinan-style sugar-coated fire-baked bread. Although the taste is not quite the same as that of my hometown, I was particularly moved by the thought. He said, "You are one of us. We are all a family." This sentence reminded me of every little thing I have experienced in Taipei over the years, from the initial discomfort to the complete integration into life here, from the initial trembling to the ability to interact with people freely now. This change is not only a change in the environment, but also a growth in the heart. In Taipei, I found a new way of life and also found my true self. The people here taught me that life is not a competition, but a warm encounter. Every morning when I open the window, watch the sun shine on the street, and listen to the bells in the distance, I feel very happy. This place has really become my second home. That's all for today's video. If you think what I said is interesting, please like and follow me. Your support is my biggest motivation to continue updating. Thank you.